listeners to download the book, but what are just a couple or one quick thing off the top of your head that is something that designers can use to save money on their taxes?
Yeah, so the best thing is the type of business entity that you pick. So most designers, business owners, creatives will start out as a sole proprietor, which is fine. But I always say that there's a certain point when you're growing that it's better to incorporate, and it's different for everyone in different circumstances. Mm-hmm. But there are ways. I'm not going to get too complicated, and then it becomes a bore fest if I start talking about tax law. Sure. But there are different ways to switch that entity, and even if you are like thinking to yourself, "Oh, did I pick the right entity?" Because I just set it up by myself. It can be changed at any time, even during the year or any year throughout the life of a business. So there are ways to change that entity and it can save you thousands of dollars. For example, if you get big enough, it might be time to incorporate versus being a sole proprietor. And there's ways that I help my clients take a reasonable salary and they save on the self-employment tax. So, that's the biggest thing is what kind of entity do you choose, especially in 2018 with the new tax bill that's out. Mm-hmm. There's some substantial tax savings for a lot of different clients. So I always say whether it's someone who's an expert in the design industry or someone who you trust and you feel like you are comfortable with them, it's important that your accountant is giving you the advice so that you are the most beneficial business entity out there.
Sure. In your own career, what has been the best investment you've ever made?
The best investment I ever made was when I finally got over the whole budget thing and knew that I needed to hire a part-time person year-round.
Oh, okay. You mean that for your company?
Yeah, and the reason why I say that is because as an accountant, I would say, "Oh, I can't. I'll just do it myself. Yeah. And then you just get inundated with the day-to-day, technical work of getting a tax return done. And I said, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I'm not going to have the time to be able to do all the things as a business owner I need if I spend all day and night doing technical work. Mm-hmm. In my industry, tax season is one of those things where we spend 7 days a week at work and there's not a lot of time to do all those other things. And then it gets quiet, so I have seasonal help. But, I just actually this year said, you know what, I need to hire someone part-time the entire year. And even if, I'm not going to worry about a budget. I'm just, I'm going to do it so I can spend more time growing my business. And it's actually, I was so worried about it, and she's worked out great, and she's been busy. And as it turns out, she's probably could work more than she is. So, it's just taking the plunge and, when you know something's right, following your gut and just taking a risk.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So I've been on your site, which is the Designer CPA. Was this when you first launched your own business? Was it always called the Designer CPA, or is this something that you have recently branded?
I recently branded it in the last 18 months. Okay. So I just started when I started my own business. I was just Peter Lang CPA, and I took clients from anywhere, any industry or anything. But in the last I would say year or two, 18 months to 2 years, we redid the website and I said, this is more exciting. We're going to cater to, we're going to do a niche, and we're going to, just cater towards the design industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is awesome. So as somebody who actually in my actual design days didn't have a CPA, and tried to do it all myself, and then eventually got audited because that was a bad idea. So what are when someone creative is listening to this podcast and they're like, yeah, I don't really want to I don't want to hire a CPA because I feel like that's too expensive. like what would you say to somebody like that on why it is more beneficial to have a professional on your side than to try to do it yourself?
Tax, if we're only talking about filing a tax return,
Yeah.
it is only going to get more and more complicated. I know that the media is saying that it's getting, it's a postcard tax return and everything's getting simpler. That's simply untrue. Yeah. So if you're going to invest in having any sort of teammate expert on your side, it is the cost of getting audited and dealing with IRS notices on your own is far greater than hiring a CPA. Now, if you're going to do it, you need to find someone that you're comfortable with, that you can trust, that's going to give you, what you need to grow your business. But, I would recommend if you're going to invest some money in having some sort of expert person who's a teammate on your side, an advisor, you cannot go wrong with a CPA.
Oh, that's awesome. And do you only work with, because I know you're in Rhode Island, do you only work with designers who are local to you, or do you work with people across the country?
Nope. Yeah, no, we work with clients all over the country. So we use cloud-based accounting, based on, and there's some clients that don't do that, but there's ways to do it. But everything that we try to do, we're a 100% virtual firm, and we use Zoom and Skype, and we have design clients all over the country. As my clients move throughout the country, it's no problem at all. Technology is pretty great that way. That I can get an email from a firm in Missouri. I can get an email from someone in Los Angeles, New York, and we're able to use technology, and it's like they're in Rhode Island. It's great. So it's been pretty great to be able to meet people from all over the country and be able to work with people from all over the country.
Yeah, definitely. So I know finance is always a delicate subject for people, especially in the creative field. It's mostly because we have most of us have never been taught any kind of financial literacy in school and all kinds of stuff. How do you help your clients if they come to you and they're like, listen, I don't know anything about my finances or taxes, help? Like, where should they start, and how do you help them overcome that fear of finances?
That happens every day. And the first thing that I do is just kind of have a conversation with them so that they can realize that I'm a nice person. And the reason why I say that is because 9 times out of 10, they'll say, oh, the last accountant I used would always yell at me. They had no patience. I felt like I asked dumb questions, so they would yell at me, and then I would just stop asking questions. And we build trust so that they know that they can ask the quote-unquote dumb question. And then we work with people based on what they need as far as a plan. So I have some clients that I meet with on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, and we try to keep it at a minimum on a quarterly basis, and we try to it's just different for every client. But we try to just explain it in a way that will help that particular client understand. So obviously that takes time to build a relationship, but we just want to be a comforting advisor to them so that they feel comfortable with it. They don't have to understand it, but at least if they do have a question, they can feel comfortable asking it.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. In your own life and own career journey, what would you say has been the best advice you've ever received?
That was, don't be a wimp. and that just means, like I kind of said, like in my late 20s when I knew I wanted to have a business, but I was still, working for the man and so scared about it. And then eventually someone was like, I had talked to different people who had gone out on their own, and they're like, stop being a wimp. Until you stop being a wimp and you jump off the cliff, you're never gonna reach your true potential. So I would say easier said than done, but it certainly, not looking back, was good advice.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. That's awesome. Well, Peter, thank you so much for taking the time tonight to chat with me about what you're working on. It sounds amazing and definitely very well needed in the creative industry. If the listeners would like to connect with you and talk to you and find out more what you're working on or talk to you about your services, where is the best place they can go to find that?
Yeah, sure. So if you're on the internet, you're on my website. It's www.thedesignercpa.com. And if you're on social media, we have you can find me on Instagram at the Designer CPA, as well as Facebook at the Designer CPA too.
Oh, awesome! Thank you so much, and I will make sure all those are in the show notes. So thank you again, Peter. Have a wonderful evening.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Advance Your Art podcast. If you like this episode, please go into iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button so that every single time I release a new episode, it will go directly to you without even thinking about it. If you're interested in hearing older episodes, please go to advanceyourart.com, where you can find the catalog of everything I've done so far, as well as contact information and projects I'm working on. Thank you again, and have a great day.